Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is Club Call time. I am on my own, but I'm not on my own because Ned.
Hello. Oh, sorry, I was in
a. You're making me look like Paul Pogba here. Where's your camera?
I'm here now.
Oh, it is. There it is. Why haven't you got the wig on?
The wig, this one.
Yeah.
The Hey, where's it gone?
What have you done? It's round here.
Oh, is it?
Anyway,
Yeah.
come back to me.
Hang on.
Anyway, it is Club Call. Your opportunities to give us a call. That's why it's called Club Call. And get a few things off your chest. If you want to get a few things off your chest about Monday, do so. If you want to get a few things off your chest about the board, do so. If you want to get a few things off your chest about the protests, do so. If you want to be ultra positive about Saturday against Leeds United, give us a call about that. Literally, give us a call about anything. I don't really care. As long as there's no spoilers for The Last of Us, then I'm happy. I'm happy to chat about basically everything. Anything and everything. Ned.
Yeah, man.
Put your camera on.
Yeah, it's a big game on the weekend, so anyone to come and chat about.
That's not a very good wig, is it? Because you can see your ginger hair.
Well, I don't have a.
You could have styled it.
You need that skin thing, don't you?
What skin thing?
You put a bit
You're
of piece
such a wool.
You put a piece of skin on your
You're
head.
such a wool. You were
and it
definitely
makes
you were definitely at the Sweets Hotel last week. You are a wool.
The Sweets Hotel.
Yeah. So give us a call. Ned, do you want to do like a couple of comments? You know, because I'm sitting here without
Can
computer.
do.
You could have just given me the laptop.
Do you want the laptop?
Well, if you're not using it,
I'll give you it. I'll do these comments first. Rondon the Legend says, evening everyone. Brian Ball says, afternoon, evening all. Solberio numero uno says, hello you joppos. Eugene McGeever says, smash the like button now. Indeed. Brian says, anyone else dreading the Leeds game? I can't take it anymore. I wouldn't say I'm dreading it. I'd say I'm interested to see if we're going to still with the same lineup, but I think we will, to be honest. I'm nervous for it because I think if we lose, that's going to be a bigger, a worse thing than losing a derby, because Leeds are just above us, and I think they're one of the teams that I look at and get sucked back into the bottom three, and one of the teams I'm looking at getting above. I think Wolves are improving now. Forest are improving now. Obviously, Southampton and Bournemouth, I think they'll stay below us, but Southampton are probably going to improve under a new manager, so we have to get above one of those teams as quickly as possible, and hopefully that team is Leeds.
There you go. Ned's spitting. When I say spoilers, what I mean is don't spoil anything for anyone else. That's what I'm saying. Thank you. Just on the so the only real story of today, even though listen, we're here to talk about stuff for all week, is the MSP thing. MSP, and they've been linked with a takeover from Spurs. Well, what we've been told is that there's no change in MSP's position in terms of investing in Everton. So don't get all bent out of shape about rumours in the national media. From what we're told from our own sources and from other people who have got connections in the city and in finance and all these kind of things, MSP are still looking to invest in Everton, and obviously there'll have been talks and there'll be stuff going on and money moving around and all those things that need to happen if you're going to invest in a Premier League club, and that's still ongoing. So don't be worrying your pretty little heads about that kind of thing, because it's not affected. So I don't think they've got the money to buy into Spurs. I don't think Spurs are up for sale. And it wasn't MSP as such. It was the guy who's part of MSP who's just sold a big chunk in the Phoenix Suns basketball team. So because he's basically had to. So So mate, listen, no callers yet, Ned.
Nope.
Paul, where's the callers? Where are the callers? I want the call. I can't sit here for an hour or so and just sit here. Once that first one comes on, then that's it then. So where's one of me friendlies? Where's me Astros? Where's me Pats of the world? Where are you? Nick says, have you watched the Figo documentary? I have, Nick, on Netflix, and it is brilliant. It is an extraordinary documentary about the sale of Figo from Barcelona to Real Madrid, and it really gives you an insight. Really gives you an insight into what goes on in football, the behind the scenes, with agents, with clubs, with the president situation at those two clubs, the skullduggery that goes on, the promises that are made for players, all those things. It's really good. It's not quite as good as the Ronaldo documentary that was on BBC, which is incredible, and it's still on my Skybox, and it will never leave my Skybox, and I will watch it now and again and just have a little cry how he should have been the greatest footballer of all time and isn't, but still is amazing and better than the other Ronaldo. Don't care what anyone says. There you go. It is a very good documentary. I love my football documentaries. I love my sports documentaries. Although I believe next year's Amazon one is Newcastle. I think I'll leave that. I think I will leave that. Depending on what happens. If they have like a big crash and burn end of the season, then I'll watch it. But there you go. John Crellin says, Ned, you look like that dipstick Tory MP with that syrup on.
Oh, with the...
I agree.
That is definitely a wig.
Basically, Ned looks like every Tory MP that's ever been, all rolled into one. Even Thatcher.
I disagree.
Well, you would disagree. But
I think I've never seen a good-looking Tory MP.
You never will. You never will. Come on, I want someone to give us a call. Come on. Can't have me sitting here for an hour reading comments.
Yeah.
There's loads to talk about, by the way. And I know a few people might be like, I can't really be bothered with Everton at the moment. Let's get these things off your chest. Get these things off your chest. This is a good place to...
Well, we've got a saviour. Pat is our first call, and he's ready to go. Yeah.
Go. Pat, go on, my friend.
Hey, that sucked, didn't it?
Yeah, it did, Pat. It did.
So, Baz, when you played, Ned or Ped, what positions did you guys play?
Bench.
Ned. The bench for Ned. I played in multiple positions, defensive and attacking, and even I've actually just for the record, Pat, I actually played in goal once at Goodison Park.
Ooh,
facts. Just dropping facts.
You, Ped, and Neville Southall sharing the same 6-yard box.
There you go. Some people would say the same shirt size, but that's another matter. That's another matter.
So the thing that frustrated me most, one, Turkowski hitting the post, but that's life. That happens. But the thing that frustrated me so much is how that there are two really crap center backs were able to outrun Sims, Mopé, and Gray on the press, so that Onana and Decore had essentially come out on a center back, leaving their 6 open to pass past us. How was that happening all game? They were literally letting Gomez and Mathew, who is slow as hell, dribble past Ellis Sims and Neil Mopé.
Lack of bravery, wasn't it, really? And you know, the whole team was terrified. Basically, the whole team looked terrified. It sat back. I'm not really sure what the tactics were, to be honest. I think early on it was like, try and get the ball up to Ellis Sims, see if we can make it stick, and also see if we can cause them to make mistakes. And I think it happened once where Sims had a run at the centre-back and he just lacked composure and hit the ball straight at him, where maybe if that was a game, maybe if that was 2 or 3 games in, or that was on one of the teams he'd been on loan at, he would have took a little bit more care with that, and maybe he'd gone past them. And I think that's a big problem for bringing a young kid in. Does he have quite got the confidence to think, I can get past you? And that was the only real one we had. And after that, that's when I thought Liverpool just stepped it up and thought, right, we're not up against much here. And it was hard work after that, because we were always on the back foot, weren't we? And we just didn't have... And I felt sorry for Ellis Sims. Like, I think a few people may have thought was having a go at Ellis Sims. I think I'm not. I feel really sorry for the kid. I'd actually leave him in the team for Saturday because after playing him for 60 minutes, why not? You might as well give him another go. So, but he's gonna have to. They're gonna have to teach him basically the ways of playing up front on his own.
Yeah, and both Decore and Onana looked like a shadow of what they were against Arsenal. Those guys looked determined and attack-minded, and they looked intimidated and scared, just like everyone else. Ghana was invisible. I don't know. The whole team looked like crap. You know, Cody stepping over a ball for that back post second goal.
Classic Everton. Classic Everton, just falling to bits.
Capitulating Everton at its best.
Just Everton falling to bits at Anfield once again. It's like it's the conundrum that people can't seem to understand. Is that doesn't matter what manager, doesn't matter what players. We go there every year and we can't express ourselves. Now you can say this year that's because of a lack of quality, but we just looked all over the place. We just looked intimidated. And I don't understand why, because other teams go there and they don't do that. Other teams go there. Wolves went there a few weeks ago in the Cup and they really pushed Liverpool back, and ultimately it was a draw, but Wolves were done over by VAR. But other clubs seem to be able to go there and puff out the chest and say, not today, lads. And we don't. We go there and wilt. And what really frustrated me about Monday's performance was that we didn't match them physically. And I think one of the issues for Everton have got going towards the end of the season is, obviously we all know that we don't score a lot of goals. So we're going to have to match every team we play physically. Every team we play physically is we're going to have to give them a game. And that to me was what was a little bit, not unforgivable is the wrong word, but that was what really, really disappointed me about Monday was, if you're going to go to Anfield and try and take on Liverpool, okay, you might be able to take them on quality wise, but you've got to match them physically. And we never done that. Yeah.
And the fact that Alexander-Arnold was able, who we all know is a real horrible defender, was able to contain Dwight McNeil, who looked like a new player at Arsenal against Arsenal. And he was, I mean, obviously he doesn't have anyone to cross to, really. Yeah. I mean, Sims is not really a target man. So, and we don't really have anyone else who is besides Dom. So that was a little disappointing. But also I thought McNeil would take the confidence he gained against Arsenal and be able to do some really nice things, find Decore, find Onana, even if it wasn't Sims. But I don't know, that was a little disappointing too. And, you know, I don't really know what to make of it. How they looked so good against Arsenal and then they went to, I guess they call it, we jokingly call it Mordor for a reason, right?
It was chaotic, and I don't think that suited us. I don't think the chaos of the game helped us, because I think we need to play against a structured side for our tactics to work against them under what Dyche wants to do. But listen, it's gone. We'll probably get a truer reflection in the next 2 weeks. We've got 2 huge games coming up now at home, and you know, really, we have to get 6 points, because if we start going, well, if we get a win there and we get a draw there, we have to get 2 wins out of these next 2 home games. That it's so important to win your home games from now on and get that little bit of momentum that carries us up the table a little bit and gives us that little bit of gets us in the pack, gets us amongst the pack then. So then we can be a little bit more like, well, if we get a point here and if we win that, and then maybe we'll lose that game because we're playing a much better team. We've got to get in the pack, and that means 2 back-to-back home wins.
It's going to be a big ask, but that's my last point is that we're at a situation now, just like you said, Ped. We no longer have the situation where we can just say, we'll get a point here, we'll get a point there. We need to be putting W's on the board. Otherwise, championship, here we come. So look forward. If that doesn't happen in the next 2 games, I fear we're going to be looking on our schedules for Luton Middlesbrough away on a Tuesday.
Well, let's hope it doesn't come to that part, and I know if that'll be very, very, that'll be difficult, very, very difficult. It's a horrendous league that we don't want to have anything to do with, and the only way that's gonna not happen is if we've got to get at least 6 wins, I'd say, to have any chance of And that if you think about it, if we could get back-to-back home wins in the next couple of weeks, then that could be like 4 wins, and suddenly you're going, oh, we get that 4 wins. That doesn't seem so hard now. 4 wins and a couple of draws, but that means getting back-to-back wins at home. So we'll see how it goes.
Yep. And Leeds are crap. So
yeah, they are. Yeah, they are. They
can't defend for anything. Like even we thought that Liverpool's defense was bad. We can get at these.
Yeah, 100%. 100%.
All right.
Cheers, Pat. Thanks for your call, mate.
Have a good one, Pat.
Thanks, mate.
Bye.
Cheers. There you go. Good to hear from Pat as ever. Give us a call. Get your feelings. That's how easy it is. You're writing in the comments. It takes longer to write some of the stuff you're writing in the comments than it does for you to write it and then to me to read it when you could just give me a call. Dead easy. Nice one to Pat. Adam says, I went from being 60-40 confident of beating Liverpool to 0 once I heard Calvert-Lewin was injured. It's sad state of affairs when a player is crucial to perform even the most basic of tactics. Yeah. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is just massively essential to what Sean Dyche wants to do. He's hugely important to what Sean Dyche wants to do in terms of going long. Because we saw it on Monday night, and it won't happen against everybody, but trying to play... Well, it will, because we've seen it happen all season. Trying to play through the middle and going through the midfield, we can't do it. I think we've been caught in transition the most of any team this season, and it's led to a goal. We can't do it. And that's what was different against Arsenal, is that the manager obviously knew that, and he changed it, made sure we went long. Dom held it up. And if Ella Sims wants to play games every week, he's going to have to learn how to hold it up and how to get it and give it, how to work the channels better. From what I've seen of him and the numbers, he's a very sort of static striker. He doesn't really move till the ball comes to him. Can't get away with that in the Premier League unless you're really, really good, and you've got to be able to use the space a lot better. Steve says, Ped, I forgot to say, but a few weeks before Lampard got the sack, Tony Cascarino was on a national radio station, and he said that he criticised Lampard, and Lampard phoned him up about it. Then a week later, Carragher said the same about the club phoning him. That was even more proof to me that he didn't belong at Everton. How insecure must you be to actually phone some talk radio presenter pundit because he said something about him? Is that I hadn't heard that one. I know Carragher was wrong, but I don't think it was by Lampard. I think it was by someone at the club. But I hadn't heard that one. That's the first I've heard. That's really interesting. That weird one, but someone told me a while ago who works in the media that you could basically, you obviously has patches on Merseyside, and he said to me, you can basically say what you want about Liverpool and that's it, but Everton, they'll get on the phone to you, anything negative. It's difficult, and we don't even get that because we don't have a relationship with them in terms of like seeing them all the time or getting stories off them, so we don't even have that. We now and again speak to people who work for the football club, but I would love that. I would honestly love Everton to ring me every time I said something. I mean, they'd be ringing me every 5 minutes, but I would love it, because I'd love to have that conversation with someone at the club and just say, well, come on then, talk to me about it then. Let's have a chat about it. Let's have a chat. Why can't you say that? Why can't you say prove to me that Everton aren't the worst club in the Premier League or whatever? Let's have a conversation about it. But what we get is radio silence. They're terrified. Right, let's speak to Yannick. Hello, Yannick.
Hey, how's it going?
Hello, mate. You okay?
Hear me?
Yeah.
Right on. I think this past Monday was abysmal, but it's just kind of a snapback to reality, and just how difficult the fight is really going to be. We can't seem to keep Dom healthy. Unfortunately, you can just, like, you read my mind when I was waiting in the queue about how integral he is for Sean Dyche to kind of keep us up or to have any kind of continuity or game plan on the field. I guess my one question that I have kind of today, I was thinking about it earlier. I was watching watching the match on Monday thinking, these are crap right here. But who needs to go, regardless of stay up or stay down? Like, everyone says, the best managers come in and the first thing they do is mow the grass because that's where you find the snakes. And I just keep looking around and I'm desperate to know who the snakes are in this team because that they exist. This doesn't happen year over year for the amount of time that it has. And, it could be other than players, it could be people in and around the club.
Yeah.
You never know. That Jarab Chian fella needs to piss off if you ask me. But I'm desperate to know your thoughts on, is there a player you're looking at and you're like, man, this fella needs to go?
It's weird because in terms of football and stuff on the pitch, I actually don't know if we've got too many sort of like bad apples. Do you know what I mean? I don't think we have. I think in the past I've been told about like certain players and elements of what they bring to the dressing room, and I think we've had a few problems there with certain players, and I think the likes of someone like Fabian Delph. I'm not saying he's a bad apple, but just like sometimes you look at him and think, is he really that arsed? Is he that bothered? You want to eliminate that. I think we've had people where you go, oh, they're causing a rift in the dressing room. There might have been a split. I know that there was sort of a split in the dressing room when you had the likes of Morelos and Morgan Schneidlin and Garner and even Nias. And I don't mean a split in like a negative way. They weren't necessarily causing trouble, but there was like a clique because they were all French speaking and they kept themselves to themselves, and that you can often get little things where they're not bonding with each other, and therefore it just doesn't quite work. I don't know if that's the case this time. It's weird because I've actually heard in the few years that about certain players, and can't really say who they are, but the players that you would least expect to be maybe what some people within the club thought were trouble causes, or I don't, it's strange sometimes what we perceive as somebody from the outside that looks like they epitomise Everton or the Everton spirit or whatever we want to think, but then people around the club might go, no, actually they're completely different, they're arrogant or this or that. So I find that question really hard, I think, because it's often said that you bring the right people to the football club and things all change, and you get that a lot from football people in terms of like, you look like Conor Cody, you look at Tarkowski and you say they're the kind of people we need at the football club. But then, people within football have said to me, well, no, the right kind of people you need at football clubs are good players. They're the right kind of people because good players often have their professional standards are just up here. And players who, and I say this all the time about players who aren't, who people go, oh, you got to be very careful with them. You might, if you say the wrong thing about that player, their confidence will take a hit. To me, if a player reads something on Twitter or hears something from this channel and their confidence is hit, then they'll never be a good footballer. Never, ever, ever be a good footballer. Or when people go, oh, don't get on his back, the crowd get on his back. If a player suffers from people getting on the back, they'll never be a good footballer. And I think in the other way, it's like if you are a good footballer, your professional standards are up there. It's something that Wayne Rooney said to us when he was like, when he came into the dressing room, the standards were quite low. So that might be an issue, but that issue isn't always identifiable from us. We look at a player and go, he'll run through a brick wall for us, but does he have those professional standards? Does he set those standards in the dressing room? Is there enough of them? Is there enough players in the dressing room? Is there 9, 10, 11 of them that make that one player look stupid because he's walking around with his headphones and his flip-flops on and all that kind of thing? And the manager's already said he wants to set those standards themselves. So if he's already identified that, then clearly there are issues, or there were issues. There still might be issues of he has standards of, and he said himself, he doesn't have hats and snoods. Can't you have them in the game? You've seen pulled up the socks and all those kind of things. They're things that straight away you're saying to players, we're not here to mess around. I don't know whether So the other one is like they're not doing he's not having like a coach drive the players up. He's making them come in themselves. I don't know why he's done that, but there must be a reason behind it. So the manager's clearly setting the standards now, and maybe he'll evaluate in the first month who's in and who's out, and maybe he'll look at that. You know, that's going to be an interesting part. But I do really find it difficult to look and say they all look like they're honest sort of professionals. There's no one really I'd say, oh, I don't really like him. Don't really like that. Like, there's players you go, I don't think they're very good. But like to your point, I don't see players where I go, I hate him. He does my head in, that lad. Or you know, that is a difficult one. We seem to have cleared out a lot of those sort of bad eggs, but we've certainly got a lot of bad players.
Yeah, without doubt. And I guess it kind of brings a reminder that, you know, it's early days. You know, Sean Dyche has been in 3 weeks, maybe. Not even.
Yeah, not even. Yeah.
Yeah. No. You make some good points. I do recognize that he's going to organize things a little bit differently, and I think that's probably a good wake up for just kind of the structure of how we prepare. You know, because there's clearly a lack of it there, because we don't have the worst players in the league, if you ask me. They perform that way sometimes.
Yeah.
But, you know, the performance kind of, there's a lean on to that. So, no. Anyways, yeah, I found it. I was kind of knocking my head around, and I really couldn't come up with kind of the Schneiderlins of the world that, you know. And credit to him, he changed a bunch of managers that he never wanted to play for. But at the same time, that, you know, you still have a contract. You need to hopefully respect that to the best degree, which he clearly didn't. But anyways. Appreciate the time.
Cheers, Yannick.
Take care.
Cheers, mate. Thanks for the call. Yannick. There you go. That's it. It is difficult. It is difficult. I think sometimes you've just got to say our players just aren't. I think some of our fans, all of us in a way, we all want our players to be good. We all want to back our players. When we see performance against Arsenal, we elevate players and sometimes forget what they've been doing for the games before. We'll go, suddenly, look, Dwight McNeil, we've been missing that. Look how good he can be. Let's give him all the support in the world. And then you have a game like Monday, and you're like, yeah, that's the player. That's the player we've had all season. How do you get that performance out of him every week, or the job? Same with Michalenko. The same with the centre midfielders. How do you get that out of them every week? That level of performance. I'm not sure. It's going to be one for Sean Dyche. And can you get that level of performance if they don't have someone up front who can put the ball in the back of the net? So there you go. Right, we've got Dave Which from the Bobblers on. Nice to hear it's always great to hear any voice, but we've got Dave on who's going to give us some. You there, mate?
I am, mate. How are you?
I'm all right. Yeah, I'm all right, mate.
It's been a while since I've called in, mate, but I don't know how I'm feeling this week. It's a bit of a mad one, isn't it? I don't think any of us would have been confident about going into a Merseyside derby at Anfield. Yeah. But I still left it really feeling really dejected and disappointed, and I kind of didn't think I was, no matter what the result was.
Yeah.
But there's a couple of things I'm going to ask you. Firstly, do you think this is the most unlikable Everton that you remember for years? Honestly, I'm 38 now, and so I'm 39. I took a year off, but I don't remember feeling so low about everything. Really, you know, I don't really like anyone that plays for the team anymore. There's like the Charleston I liked. You know, he's obviously, you know, he's gone to pastures new, better places probably now, and you know, that says a lot because he's gone to Spurs, but you know, still better being here. Yeah. But I don't look at anyone in that squad and think, you know, I really love having him as a player. But, you know, it's hard, isn't it? Well, it's so unlikable.
I don't know if you heard the last call from Yannick, but he was like, he's just sort of stole your funding in a way. But he just said, like, who are the snakes? And I was like, there aren't any snakes. They're just not very good footballers. And I don't know if that makes them. I don't know if that makes that doesn't make them. That doesn't make them unlikable in my eyes, because I don't watch them and go, there's players last season or seasons gone by where I've looked at and gone, I really don't like you. I just don't like you. You're a fraud in my eyes. And I don't know, this lot, a lot of them look sort of like that. Don't get me wrong, they seem like an honest bunch of footballers. They're just not good enough. Like, do you know what I mean? I don't. There's certain players who I think are absolutely dross, and you know who they are. But I don't ever go, he's not trying. I just think you're just not good enough. And you know,
it's even like, it's like, I mean, obviously I've said this on record, but I don't like the chairman, don't like the boards, don't really like the kit this year. I don't.
Fair enough.
I don't even like the pies in the stadium. The pies have gone crap. I just, there's loads of things I just don't like.
Dave, let me ask you a question though. Right. Let me put you on the spot. Right. So,
go on.
And I'm not speaking out of turn here. You were Mr. Positive, right? Absolutely Mr. Positive. And I understand why, mate, because you're sending good vibes, mate. You were sending the team good vibes. And honestly, like, you were Mr. Positive, and you were, you want the best for Everton. You want people to do well. You want to give everyone a chance. What tipped it for you this season?
You know what? I think you're right. I think I do try and see the best, and that's not just Everton, by the way. It is.
Yeah, it's good. That's a good way to be.
I'm the one out of our groups of mates who say, just give him a second chance. You know what I mean? And I don't try and write people off. I always hope that people can be better people. But someone described, I think Terry McAllister described it as me villain arc the other day with John Banks coming in, and I've turned into that. And I don't know if I have, but I just think I'm just so sick of Everton in general. Do you know what I mean? And I think what and I don't mean to speak out of turn. There's some really good people at the club, and you know this.
Of course,
an engagement level.
Yeah.
So I think the fan engagement team are good. There is still some positives not dotted around. But I think when you got on the fans forum and you're looking round and you're seeing the insides and seeing things from a different lens.
Yeah.
I don't know if that totally polarised my view and got me to a point of just feeling really disillusioned and really, just frustrated. You know what I mean? And thinking, it's how's this ever going to get better? No. You know what I mean?
You know what, mate? This is the side of things that people don't quite understand, right? So, 10 years ago or more now, when I started doing all my stuff, a lot of this got revealed to me, and Everton then was like a one-man band. It really was. There was like 3 people who ran the entire club, like literally. And if they took a dislike to you, you were in trouble, and they took a dislike to me. And it was only actually, and this is why I love the man, it was only actually Alan Myers that saved sort of my Everton fandom in a big way, because I got myself in such a state over the football club that I wanted nothing positive for the football club. I had seen behind the curtain, and I wanted nothing positive for this. I wanted this football club to just burn. Honestly, that's how bad it got me. Right? Honestly, I'm not messing.
Full joker.
I wanted this club to burn, mate. This is like 10 years or so, and it was only Alan Myers coming to Everton that opened the door to let me in and show that if you did things the right way, that you could change the perspective. And on a side note, this is why I've said consistently since Alan Myers left the club, is why Everton need Alan Myers back, and it was the worst mistake they ever made was letting him leave the club. And the people who let him leave are still there, and they are absolute idiots for not having, because he would sort all this out by just his communication skills. And when he left Everton Football Club, you honest to God, you speak to my missus, any of my mates, and when I don't like using the word lightly, depressed. I was depressed for a month because I thought my dream of doing all this was over, because the man who'd like opened the door and got me interviews with like Martinez and things like that had suddenly left the club, and the people still remained. And all what happened was they just went back to their ways of doing what they had done beforehand, and they sort of continued to do that. But once you've seen behind the curtain and you've seen what goes on, and you've seen how good people at the football club aren't allowed to do the job they want to do just because of 3 or 4 people's egos. And the 3 or 4 people's egos right now, and I have no issue in saying this, is the board. The board have done that. The board have done that, right? They shouldn't have been at Anfield on Monday. That is the biggest piss take I've ever seen in my life. Those people went to Anfield.
Absolutely.
But you know what, right? That's their decision, because they've decided, And forget about all the names, forget about all the usual suspects who are not on the board. They decided on Monday they were going to make that decision to go the game, and that is a piss take and a slap in the face to all us fans. But when you see behind what goes on and the way people, you think these football clubs, Premier League football club, making millions of pounds, sponsorship deal with here, sponsorship, you'd think that we as people would be like little tiny ants, but we're not. We get under their skin. And I know for a fact I get under their skin, and it makes me laugh that I get under their skin, and I know I do, and that's what makes me laugh. It makes me laugh that these people who run a club that has the potential to be worth like £1 billion, right? Like people like us get under their skin because we ask difficult questions. And it is, and I'm a bit like, I've been like almost like you've been for the last 10 years. I've somehow just wore a really good mask. Is like, once you know what goes on behind the scenes, it really makes it difficult to shake off. And you have to almost go by bit of like, well, who's got the job now? This guy's got the job, great. Because I'll be honest, there's been people who've worked for this football club that we've dealt with that you just like, the day they come in, you're just like, I can't wait till this fella goes. And you're waiting for the next one. And then the next one comes in and you're dead excited and you're just like, yeah, you used to work for him, so you're entrenched in the way he thinks. So therefore nothing's going to change. And this is a huge problem at Everton Football Club, by the way, is that we just like keep on giving the job to the next person in line. Like, not like in Star Wars, when Darth Vader chokes someone out and the fella sitting next to him gets the job. That's what it's fucking like. Yeah. That's what it's like. So I feel your pain, mate.
I was thinking this as well. You know, this I put a tweet up earlier on saying about that MSP crew.
Yeah.
And I know that obviously certain people have said it's still on and all that, which sounds good, but maybe we're seeing a bit of pressure to try and finalise the deal, maybe come under the media. But do you think there's a bit of resistance there? Because obviously that would involve two relative strangers, fresh ideas coming to a place that is ultimately like an echo chamber, where one man makes the decisions and everyone nods their head and says, "Yep, that's the way we've always done it, so we'll do it that way." All of a sudden, you're going to get two relative strangers with a bit of power as well. Don't forget, 25% is not loads of power, but it's relatively speaking, it's more power than what we've seen in there for a considerable amount of time.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'll be very interesting to see how them dynamics play out, and I wonder what's going on privately at the moment.
It is an echo chamber, mate, because there's only 4 of them in there, and I don't really think 2 of them have any power. Grant Ingles is an accountant, and Graham Sharp is a goal scorer. I can't. What else can I say to him? What else can I say? He scored a hat-trick in loads of games, and it was a great centre forward. And he's what can I say about him? I wouldn't want to talk ill of him, but it's the 2 people in there and the man above them. They have like it's a weird little bubble that these people live in. And this is the other thing I found about the football club, is they're so unreceptive to new ideas coming from the outside because they're all terrified of losing their job. And you might be absolutely right in what you say there. If you're sitting there and someone says to you, right, we've got investments here, possibility of bringing investments in from this outside company, the way they think, from what my relative experience is if they get in, I'm losing my job. And I really like this job because it's dead cushy. And, I know I get to work, in a cushy office or from home, and it's dead easy, and no one, and forget about all the people outside, with their little banners, they'll all go away because they always have in the past, and it'll be dead easy. And Bill in his little magic kingdom, who thinks that he can solve all our problems, thinks that he will one day get it right, or by getting the stadium is going to somehow he's going to solve all our problems. They're so resist, and they're resistant. And I know this based on conversations I've had with people you were talking about before about the investments. There's 4 of them. There should be at least like 8 members on our board, right? With loads of fresh ideas, loads of really good ideas. What do you think about this? Go on.
Ted, you know this as well. I've actively done this when I've recruited people. When in my day job, I've looked for people who are opposite to me, because I want them to think differently than me and have different opinions on stuff and challenge me and get me to see in different ways. Effectively,
Dave, I give Ned a job. It doesn't get any more different than that, does he? It doesn't get any more different than Ned. Like, you know what I mean? We're talking about equal opportunities here. He needs every equal opportunity he can get. So that's thinking out the box.
But it does make you think, does it? You know, they are not. As soon as you start to see the makeup of that board, that tells you that they're looking just for a harmonious place where, you know, it's you know, Planet Everton and we know best, and you know we'll do things as we've always done it because we know Evertonians more than anyone, because I'm the biggest blue there is. You know, there's that kind of attitude that's got us to where we are.
They are like you just said. They're on this planet that they seem to think that like we orbit round, and it's just wrong. Like they think they're on the sun and everyone orbits around them. Like we've heard the most revered board and all this nonsense. It's nonsense. It's utter nonsense. They basically get laughed at every week by media. Like people like Jamie Carragher coming out and saying what he said on the media last week. You know, they get laughed at. They're a laughing stock. But they think they're right, and this is why I have no issue like talking about them. Because everyone can see it now. I think everybody has seen now in the last few weeks that you know, the illusion has gone. There used to be some kind of glimmer that stops it. And don't get me wrong, there's still plenty of Evertonians who are sitting there with their hands folded thinking, you know, we've seen them on Twitter, the agitators, we know they're still out there. But there's just, the glimmer's gone. And I think that the minute, you know, we had Phil McNulty in this week, and it's going to be out tomorrow on Toffee TV Premier, and he's just sitting there going, they're not good enough. These people are sitting there going, we're good enough, and everyone else is like, you're not. And now it's professional people who are saying it. Now it's people who are in the game, not just us fans who've been saying it for a long time, but have been like laughed at, going, Bill Kenwright's the biggest Evertonian in the world. How dare you say that? His ringtone is Z-Cars. Yeah, mate, every time that Z-Cars goes off in Tesco, everybody looks at their phone. We've all got it. It's like, but you know what I mean? It's like these people quite literally these people are dead men walking, right? And they're the only ones who don't know it. Like everybody knows they're finished. Everybody knows they're done. Everybody knows that it's the you know, Marie Celeste now. You know, they're not welcome at Goodison Park anymore. The fans don't want them there. And we're not talking like, you know, active cranks like me. We're talking about very normal people here who are like, you're done. You know, I was prepared to give you a chance a few years ago, but we're not prepared to give you that chance anymore because we're once again staring down the barrel. And this is when people come back to me and go, you should be supporting the team. I'm like, I am supporting the team, mate. That's all I ever do, is support the team. It's why
you see, that's the biggest thing, isn't it, at the moment on Twitter that I've noticed is people have this is where you know things are starting to turn. The people that refuse to see any bars at all, which, to be fair, like you say, it wasn't me at one time. But the people who refuse to see any bad are starting not to actually defend them, to say that they're capable. But what they're trying to say is just support the team and trying to suggest that you can't do both. But we know that's not right, because United have protested successfully against the Glazers. Well, not successfully at the moment because they haven't got the way.
No,
but they managed to protest, you know, in a way that still supports the team. United are performing better than ever on the pitch in terms of where they've been for a number of years under Ten Hag. And they're still managing to, you know, even in the stadium, they've revealed banners. They revealed one against Palace the other day, and Palace, I think, done likewise against their investors.
Do you know what it is, though?
You can't do both. Is just, you know.
Do you know what? Do you know what it is, Dave? Though, and I've got evidence of this from stuff I've done over the past that doesn't always come out public. When people say you can't protest, or what does protesting do, or do you honestly think that's going to get them out? If they're sitting in a boardroom, or not sitting in a boardroom as it may be, and they know there's pressure coming, and that pressure's at a certain level, and that pressure might go up to the next thing, might be fans might ask other fans to start boycotting buying stuff from the shop, or getting beers in the ground, or whatever it is. They'll know if they can't sell, they have to start looking at other things that they can do to appease the fans. And that might mean looking for outside investment and saying, right, I couldn't give you this, so I'm going to have to accelerate the need for outside investment, because they are sitting there quaking in their little boots. They just think it's their idea, but really it's our idea. Do you know what I mean? I know when the Blue Union were doing their stuff, and it led to the board having meetings with the Blue Union that were never like publicised, and they did, and they sat down and said, what, how can we sort this all out? You know, if people honestly think that protesting doesn't actually get you anywhere, then you're clueless. Because, like you've just said, Manchester United, if it forced Manchester United into going to get a proper manager, and it forced them into getting rid of Ronaldo, and it forced them into being a better club and working in a better way, then it's done its job. And Everton fans have to keep going at that. And if you're not a protester, if you don't like protesting, well, then leave it alone. Let the people protest. Let the people who want to protest in the way they do. I'm sure the people who will protest will be respectful to you, and there'll be a middle ground there. But I think everyone surely now knows that these people are dead men walking. They can never, ever come back from this. And personally, I know I will never let them come back from this, simply from the one thing, the Southampton game, making us all look like we were somehow criminals for being in our own ground that day. And I'll never ever, and I'm happy, I've said this on record before, and I'm sure this is something that swung you, I will never ever forgive them for what they did over that day. And Denise Barrett-Baxendale's allegations, I will never forgive them for that. Because on that day, they made criminals out of every single one of us, as far as I'm concerned. Every single one of us.
Yeah, and look, and the ironic part of this is we're the paying, you know, I hate using that phrase, but we're the paying customers, aren't we?
Yeah.
So they made it, you know, the very people that you know, give them the money they need to, you know, I know that more and more they rely on the Sky money rather than the fans, and that probably started some of this mess. But you know, it's you know, that week, you're right, you know, a lot of Evertonians we're speaking to really felt let down. You know, and so, like you say, some real positive people. And I saw someone in the cafe by ours, and I was talking to them just after the game. And he said, look, he hasn't got Twitter or anything like that. And he was telling me how disgusted he felt picking up the Sunday, you know, newspapers and the papers, you know, the Echo and all that kind of stuff, reading all these allegations. And he said, that's not what happened. We went the game, you know, as we always did. You know, we had a few pints in the Winslow. You know, the atmosphere was really good. There was the coach meet, thousands of Evertonians in the best, you know, showing the Evertonians at what the best are doing is, you know, supporting the side and all that. And then the protest was peaceful. You know, about a couple of scallies down the side streets, which, you know, and a game where a mystery headlock may or may not have happened, or an attempted headlock has become not a proper headlock, an attempted one. You know, that wasn't reflective of any of them headlines of, as you say, is what we actually seen on the day. And I'm in full agreement. I cannot see a way back. You know, I'm disgusted at the way that I was spoken about as an Evertonian, and like you, there's thousands more like us that really feel let down, and we still don't forget, we've still not been apologised for.
No, we'll never be apologised for it, because as far as they're concerned, they're still peddling that allegation, and even though they don't want to talk about it, it hasn't been rescinded, you know. And that's the thing about it. It's like, it's the cat in the box, isn't it? At the moment, it's still out there. We're all still, you know, that's the reason. Don't forget, that's the reason why they never went to that game, because they said that something had happened, and they used that as an excuse. They used an assault on a woman as a reason to justify not being there, but didn't back the allegation up with any evidence. And I'm sorry, but that to me will never ever. That to me is unforgivable. That is unforgivable as far as I'm concerned, to use an allegation of an assault on a woman and then not back it up with evidence. That to me is, if that was to happen in the street, then, you know, the ramifications of that are huge.
Definitely, you know, and I think the timing was awful as well. You know, if you look at that, they broke the story when most Blues had a few pints in a pub, and you know what it's like with the Wi-Fi down there. You know, you can't get any reception. So people were getting dribs and drabs of information. And I've stood next to Jazz and a few others in the pub, big Rob Fisher and Barry Williams and all them in the pub, and people were spilling little bits of the story through. And you know, someone said, "What? The CEO's been assaulted," and no one knew the actual facts.
Yeah, exactly.
Not that there was much to tell you anyway. But that was dangerous, the way it was kind of dripped out, and at the time that it was dripped out. You know, and I remember speaking to you actually on WhatsApp, and you were saying about, you know, the kinds of more intrusive policing inside the grounds when you're trying to get up, into your seat, and all of a sudden they're asking to see your seat. The whole thing was just wrong, and it just led to a real horrible feeling in all our stomachs, I think. And yeah, like you say, it's going to live long in our memory.
But how many people that day do you think might have been put off from actually doing the sit-in after that? Like you said, Chinese whispers. Oh, you only got bits of the story. So how many people may have wanted to do the sit-in and then suddenly gone, I can't be seen to being part of this. And obviously, what we saw after the sit-in was the kids with people with Yerry Mina and kids chasing after the car and all that kind of thing, which helped them, and that's what people have got to massively stay away from as this unfolds. But it led to, obviously, Ben in our comments just said there, like, Ian Wright mentions it on Match of the Day, and then a few days later apologises on his podcast because he's like, I was fed something, I said it like as it was fed to me, and then I've had to think about it and gone, no, you've got to give me real evidence. And that's what I'm saying. It's like, I'm not trying to track this up again, by the way, to make this a point. I'm just saying that's the reason that I will never ever forgive these people, because to me, because of the way it was done, it was an accusation against not one person but all of us, because it was like all of you could be suspects. Do you know what I mean? It's because when it goes on the news and they go, the Everton CEO was she was put in a headlock. It's like, it could have been anyone. So therefore, it's an allegation against the whole fan base, not just like Roger Tweedle. This is an allegation against the whole fan base, and that's to me why that day there was a line put in the sand, as far as I'm concerned, and you were either on the fan side or you were on the allegation side. And that, to me, for me, I find it really hard that if people are still on that side who are in the fan base, I find it very hard to have any kind of dialogue with those people, because I just think, why do you think it's all right for you to think that one of us did that when clearly there's no evidence? And that's that to me, that was the day the board brought themselves down, as far as I'm concerned.
You know what, and to be honest, I think Evertonians should all be stood together wanting a better Everton. I defy anyone to suggest that we're where we should be, and we're performing. Anyone who's got any ounce of realism knows that we need to do better, and I get that people sometimes want to do things their own way and they don't agree with that the how, that becomes the contentious point. But it's proven already we can protest, and then I think actually that process was a positive, because it then brought an atmosphere inside the ground for Arsenal, and I think that'll happen again, obviously the walk at the weekends. But the only two times I've seen any kind of resistance was firstly the last sit-in. I had someone walking up past me, and my mate was there with his young lad. Actually, he stayed behind, for the sit-in as well. And there was there was a Evertonian walking up and he was screaming at us, "Where did Bill Kenwright play?" Because we obviously lost a game. Where was he playing? I didn't see him play. So I just didn't respond and just smile back, and it was really aggressive. But I mean, he was an older gent anyway. And then the walk around the other day against Arsenal, as we got towards Gladys Street, there was a fella that was just stood there, just screaming at the people in the march, and there was no aggression from the march. It was perfect people. So I think people just need to just have a look at themselves and think, look, we're all together in this, we're shoulder to shoulder, and we all want a better Everton. So let's stop, like as you said before, let's just allow people to voice their opinions. Even if you don't agree.
There's been a lot of let me just tell you this. There's been a lot of strange things that have gone on in the last few weeks at Goodison and outside Goodison. The increased policing. Some people have actually said to me they felt like the police were trying to provoke a reaction out of people. I don't know whether that's true or not. That's just what's being fed to me. The march in the last game, there was cars driving down Spellow Lane as the march was going up, and I was told that some of those cars had police men and women in uniform, in unmarked cars, trying to provoke a reaction out of the crowd. Now they're just allegations that were fed back to me, and I wasn't there to see that. I'm just saying there's been a lot of strange things that have happened. I've seen people. Listen, when I walked up at the Blue Union 10 years or so ago, and people people were spat at and all kinds. But that one always makes me laugh. That where did Bill play or where did Mashiri play, mate? They bought the team. They bought the team. This is why, like, you know, on Monday, that made me mad about, like, the Ellis Sims situation is we've got a kid there who's the best development should be for him, that he should be on Sunderland, at Sunderland, turning up, not trying to save this Everton team. We should have a really good backup striker, and that's because of Farhad Mashiri and the board have let the manager down, or two managers down, or directors of football down, and so when people say that to you, I just laugh in their faces. I'd go full Andy Robinson, and you should never go full Andy Robinson, but I would for that.
We're almost, but the thing is, it's like history repeating itself. We're almost pulling the same tricks as we pulled. Yeah. You know, the early 2000s where, you know, he's selling Rooney and, you know, don't replace him, and then all of a sudden you're relying on young lads and trying to, you know, you've seen this old narrative getting created that Ellis Sims is this, you know, great modern sea record, and you're thinking anyone that's seen him wouldn't have been surprised by the performance the other day. And like you say, you know, it's not to say he's a bad player. He should, you know, he was doing well at Sunderland, and that's where he should still be. But, you know, it's because they shortchanged us, and, you know, certain fans again have had the wool pulled over. No,
to say, that's it.
Lad's going to be, you know, the saviour, and he's not.
That's it.
He's not going to be that person.
But also, that's why you shouldn't really have a judgment about Anthony Gordon. Either I don't look at it and go, he's a disgrace. I look at it and go, I've been through this before. I've seen this before. Keep your powder dry on your feelings about Anthony Gordon, because you don't know. You'll never know what the full story is. You know, I was young enough to fall for the lie about Wayne Rooney. I really was. And then to hear it out the man's own voice, out of his own mouth, about what really happened. You know, complete. Exactly. You know, and it's the same fella at the club. You know, I heard I fell for the lies about Goodison falling to bits and having to move from Kirby because I was young and stupid. Luckily enough, there was people like Dave Kelly round at the time who had enough brains and experience to steer me back the other way, to say, and that's why part of the reason as well why I've the way I went is because I was manipulated so many times as a fan that when I really woke up and realised that I felt so aggrieved about people like Bill Kenwright that lied to over the King's Dock, over Kirby, over Goodison falling down, over Wayne Rooney leaving, even like Gary Speed. You know, for the years that we held him in so much contempt over what had happened, lied to by the football club, and I simply just don't believe anything they say anymore. And the Mashiri's now fallen into the trap. The board have fallen into the trap by pushing these lies as well, and I simply don't believe anything they say. And I've got reasons for it. I've got evidence. We've all seen the video of Mashiri saying, "I will get you a forward." Well, that's an untruth. It's an untruth. We've got all the video of Bill Kenwright saying Goodison's fallen down, it won't get a safety certificate. That was nearly 20 years ago. You know, going to Kirby would be the greatest thing in the world for the club. King's Dock, it's all ring fence, 30 million quid, that's all we need. Fell on its arse because the clan couldn't raise 30 million quid. I could raise 30 million quid now. Do you know what I mean?
It's just, it's just like history repeating itself, isn't it?
Let me just, Go on, Dave. I just want to leave you with this funny thing that Ned said before, and if Ned says it, you know it must be good, right? He said to me, they're so thick, right? He said that if Ellis Sims had scored the winning goal on Monday night in the Merseyside derby, you can't even go on the Everton website and buy an Ellis Sims shirt. That's how bad they are.
They should have had one ready.
That's how bad they are. Imagine that kid that scored the winning goal in the Merseyside derby never had gone, let's go and get a shirt. You couldn't even buy a shirt online. That's how bad they are at doing their jobs, ladies and gentlemen.
Tipex, you have to get a bit of Tipex. 2023. Oh, sorry, 2023 now, isn't it? Yeah. Still here. Yeah. Nice. Thanks.
Nice one, Dave. I felt like the healing, that, mate. Felt like a bit of a healing session.
Mate, it was therapy. That was therapy.
Nice one, mate. See you later. Ta-ra, mate. Nice one to Dave there. Of course, Dave resigned from the fans forum. Stephen Grattan says, Ped, do you still have issues with the Athletic about the situation? Well, let me just tell you this. I've spoke to Paddy Boyland and you know, said, addressed the situation with him about what was said. I I think what they reported was bad at the time. I think they were used because their two Everton correspondents were given a story and they run with the story, and they probably felt at the time it was correct. I think they were then let down with people who work for The Athletic who kept the headline up, and I don't think that's got anything to do with Paddy and Greg. And I understand that when someone writes a story, you don't control the headline, which I always think is one of the biggest nonsenses, by the way, in media, that a guy can be let down by the headline. The headline was changed on the story, but not on the header page of The Athletic. So it still said the allegation. But I've spoke to Paddy about it. Paddy and Greg are welcome here any time. I can understand why they might not want to come in. But at the time, I actually thought what they did that day was, or how that was handled by The Athletic, maybe not by Greg and Paddy themselves. I thought they handled it really, really poorly. I think they played into the hysteria. I understand those two people are the Everton correspondents and they need to deal with the club, so it can be hard. I still read The Athletic most days. The stories are normally quite good on all things they do. They've got a lot of good things. I just think on that particular thing they were used, and it was poor on that one. So, but I listen. I don't hold grudges really with people, because I tell you why. Because I don't want anyone to hold a grudge with me, because I say a lot of things that I know annoy people. I mean, my face pops up on Twitter to do with things, negative things all the time. I don't even know why, they just appear, and it's always me, and people seem to have a massive dislike for me. It's fine. I don't know those people. I'm not really interested. If I met them, maybe they might like me. Fine. I'm not asked. So, but I don't tend to really hold grudges. If I seen Paddy and Greg, if they wanted to have a chat with me, I'd have a chat with them. No issues at all. And I'm like that about most people, to be honest. Especially in social media. It's not the real world. I could put a tweet out now and you could read it one way and someone else could read it completely different way. If you've got a negative connotation about me, you might think I am being negative, and someone might go, no, he's having a joke, because that's what I tend to do. So no, that was a very long answer to a short question. Charlie Anthony says, not an Everton fan, but always like you lot, keeping it real. Anyway, the best from an AFC Bournemouth fan. Cheers, Charlie. Thanks, mate. That's really nice of you.
What a nice guy.
That's a real that's. See, what he's thinking there is, well, you give us a cup win and 3 points, so I'll just give you a fiver.
It's good karma.
It's nice, that. It's nice. I like that. Nice one, Charlie. A lot of people in the comments are saying nice one as well. Paddy Owen says Ned's hair is looking gloriously shiny tonight.
I just think
is real hair or is fake hair?
There's a house light right on top.
Yeah,
of
there is
head,
a house
so
light. Yeah, so like Ned's just doing what he normally does behind the cameras. Paige was here till 5, but she got off because she couldn't get anyone to pick her daughter up from nursery. These are the things we face because Baz is on holiday. So, but I don't mind doing it on my own. It just means I get to talk more. Yeah, there you go. Someone says there's Baz hold grudges. I don't know because I'm not Baz. So I can't speak on his behalf. Any more comments? Any more callers, Ned?
No one yet.
Come on, last 10 minutes or so. Get in touch with us. Like Dave. Then that was a great call. Then from Dave, can have a good chat. I just want to have a chat with someone about Everton. That's all it is. Where's the positive people? Who's going to tell me why we're going to beat Leeds on Saturday? Who's going to give me a call and tell me why we're going to beat Leeds? Come on. What Martin Edwards says, do you think Baz holds a grudge over the situation post last week? What was the situation post?
The what?
Situation post.
Situation
I don't know.
Post.
It sounds like someone's trying to be funny.
Oh, I don't know. Maybe just something silly that me and Paige did.
Maybe. That boy says maybe Mina and 2 strikers against Leeds. Imagine Everton play 2 strikers. That would be... Maybe that's what'll happen. Maybe that will be the big thing. Maybe he'll go to 4-4-2 and go back to what he knows, and he could have Ellis Sims up front, and I could have Maupay off him. But who would he drop?
They've got to try something. Probably one of the midfielders. But whether they this is why I said possibly put Decore higher up the pitch, because you're not dropping him then, and you can still drop into midfield. But you have him sort of playing off the striker. He's done that before. He's a big body. Someone who can win second balls. He can win aerial duels, and why not try something against a team that isn't defensively amazing? I watched them against United, and they were nervous. They make a few mistakes. So why not try something against a team that's a bit more open, a bit more likely to get a goal against? Because we've got to try and find a way to score a goal soon, and you're not going to try that against someone like Villa, who's a bit more solid at the back. You take the chance and try and get 3 points now, and try and find a way to score a couple of goals. Maybe have Onana and Decore in the middle of the park. Right, we've got leave Garner out. Possibly we've got. Matt Sim says he's in the video waiting room. He's in the wrong waiting room. That was 25 minutes ago. Yeah, he left. I had him ready after Dave, but he left. Lindsay says, Ped, I totally agree, mate. They lied to cover the neglect at the club by saying a woman had been assaulted. They had a ton of cameras that can spot a Nats wing offside and scan the crowd consistently for trouble, yet nothing, no evidence, just lies. There you go. Ben, are you there, Ben?
Hello.
Hello. Yeah, go on, Ben.
Oh, yeah. Just wanted to have a chat about the derby and some of the new coaches we've been getting in. Yeah. It's positive that we're getting these new coaches in to try and get more out of this squad, but ultimately it's just so limited. Whether that's slow centre backs, whether that's midfielders that just don't score goals, or one-footed players. I think you know who I'm talking about here.
McNeil.
Yeah. For me, the derby obviously flipped on those 20 seconds, but even in with those 20 seconds, if Dwight McNeil doesn't take a touch there and try and take it on his left foot, he either skies it into to row Z, or he hits the back of the net. And it's just so frustrating because you see it every single week with him. He's all about his left foot, no right foot at all. And it's just depressing. It's really just depressing because you just know exactly what he's going to do every single time he gets on the ball, which is try and cross it, get a deflection, try and get a corner, and that's it. Just want to know what your thoughts were on him.
Well, what Dad, someone's calling. Who's calling?
I've just muted him for that.
Is Ben gone?
I'm still here.
Oh, sorry. Someone was ringing there. I think Dwight McNeil, not good enough. Never has been good enough. Never will be good enough. I'm sorry to break that news to everybody, but that's just the truth. Ned, get the phone call out.
That's Ben's.
Sorry, Ben. Ben, get the phone call out.
Ben's missus.
Ben's missus trying to get hold of him, going, "You're on Toffee TV, There's a button on there called silent.
He keeps calling me back.
Press silent. God, I never have my phone on. I think we need some pace in the team, which means getting Ben Godfrey in the team for a start. I think if we've got more pace at the back, I think we can play a higher line. If we play a higher line, we can push more men on higher up the pitch because we don't have to worry. What tends to happen is with that back four is it sits deep. Midfield then have to sit deep. And the whole team is stretched away from the centre forward. Get Ben Godfrey in the back line somewhere. I'd put him left back. Maybe right back if you want, and go from there. That to me would be the first positive step because I just don't think there's enough pace in the team.
Yeah, agree completely. I mean, I was having this discussion with my dad. I think left back Ben Godfrey. He thinks right back, but I think that just says again a lot about the recruitment. I think that couple of years it's just not been good enough, and the problems have been so obvious for years.
I think the difference is, though, I think we've got a right back coming back into the team in the next couple of weeks if we can keep him fit because he always seems bleeding injury prone. But I think the difference is, though, with Michalenko as our number one left back, and so I think you could have it coming up Patterson playing right back, and you could have Godfrey playing left back, and I think that would help a lot pace wise. Because don't forget, when Godfrey got injured the first time, he was flying. He was absolutely flying when he got injured the first time. When he came back the last time, he hasn't really kicked on from that. But the first time, he was brilliant. Ned, I've lost Ben.
Yeah, he's gone.
Is he gone? All
Probably
right.
answered the phone.
I think Ben, thanks for your call anyway, mate.
I think the thing for me is on McNeil. I took him out the team for me start 11. And I said, well, we've got to find another way to score a goal now. And Dwight McNeil, what he offers is when you got Dom in the box, but he's got a good left foot.
Yeah.
And I think he put one cross in against Liverpool. He tried to put a couple more in, but he did that silly thing of trying to take a player on, which you can't do. And if he's not offering decent balls in because there's no one in the box to get on the end of them, or certainly no one like Dominic Calvert-Lewin, then what's he offer him? Is he going to cut inside and have a go on his right foot? Well, no, because he can't use his right foot. And that's why I put Gray in. I think that's what Sean Dyche will have to do, trying to find a different way to score goals. If you can't get balls in the box and no one's got the quality, then he probably
maybe try to go 4-4-2. Malpai can be the second striker, and do it that way. Maybe have a Wobie on one side and Damari Gray on the other side, maybe, and then have Godfrey at left back, so you've got the pace to cover. Ultimately, the problem with Everton is we've just got loads of really bad players, and not enough Everton fans are willing to admit this. I apologise if I am bursting your bubble, but we've got so many bad players. Like, Michalenko is nowhere near good enough. And how people don't see that baffles me. He's nowhere near good enough. Dwight McNeil, nowhere near good enough. Just nowhere near good enough. Damari Gray, maybe. I know I said play him on the wing, but maybe he could be the second striker. But he likes his second striker to become a midfielder, so I think that's out of the equation. But he is lazy. He's just lazy. The stats back it up. He's massively lazy. When he plays in wide areas, he just doesn't defend. So where does that? What can you do with him then? It's a Wobie. People keep on telling me that he's dead good. Is he dead good? Genuinely, is he dead good? I don't see it. Onana had a boss opportunity. He's been playing really well, Onana. Give him that. Bottled it on Monday. So, right, we've got Matt, was he? Matt. Go on, Matt. No, Matt. Hello, Matt. Hello, Matt. Go on, mate.
I think he's watching us on YouTube rather than listening
Hey,
in here.
Pep, how are you this week?
Go on, mate. You all right?
Yeah. I've got something to say, but it's not positive.
Go on, mate. Couldn't care less. Just say what you need to say.
What does it say about our team that can get a result like that against Man City and Arsenal, and then we come up against a crap mid-table team like Liverpool and we can't put in a performance?
It says there's a lack of quality, and also there's a lack of belief, maybe, in what they're being asked to do, or because it's quite early on in the Dyche era that they just haven't quite taken to his tactics, or maybe that the whole game plan was based around Ellis Sims on Monday, and because he clearly wasn't being able to keep the ball, wasn't able to make the ball stick, then, you know, what it says is ultimately is these are not very good players, and if they don't play to their 100% maximum, then they look really, really bad. And on Monday they didn't play to their 100% maximum. I mean, I know after the Arsenal game all those stats came out, didn't they? All the running stats, how far did all run. I haven't seen any of those stats this week. I'd love to see those stats. I'd love to know how much we ran on Monday compared to how much we ran against Arsenal. Because I'd love to see that, but we won't see them because they don't want to show us them, because clearly it was less. So I think what it tells you, mate, is that they're just nowhere as good players as what some people think they are, and they're not. They just didn't work hard on Monday.
Yeah, he's gone.
Nice one, Matt. Nice one.
Just ask one question.
It wasn't a great connection anyway, but if you're going to give us a call, right, try and use headphones just to get rid of all that background noise.
Try and use a decent internet connection.
Well, that's not all. People are out and about, they're working, they're not like you or model college, come into here, get everything paid for, go and have a pasty break, go home to your tea already, mumsy's made it for you.
That wasn't a pasty, that was a sausage roll.
Oh, did you have a sausage roll?
We got Brian, by the way.
Brian!
He's just destroying the kitchen at the
moment. Go ahead,
Bri.
Bri, stop destroying the kitchen.
Evening, lads.
Go on, mate.
Listen, as you know, I've been an Evertonian for a couple of years now, and I gotta say that was one of the absolute worst Derby performances I've ever seen. And I've been around for a few, I tell you, but that was quite simply diabolical, unforgivable. What is so irritating is that we all know, it's been shown quite clearly under the season, how to beat Liverpool, beat them. And we didn't do it. What do? How do they do it? Brighton, Fulham, Wolves, what did they do? They harassed them up the backsides of them, harass, put tackles in, get in their way, stop them from playing. And they panic. When you put pressure on and force them back, we've seen this season that they panic and they concede. So what do? The exact opposite. The first 15 minutes, okay, we're in the game. After that, what happened? We stopped.
Yeah.
And we just let them have the ball. And I said to my lad at the time, I said, look, we're letting them have the ball. They can do what they want. They're going to build in confidence.
Yeah.
They're going to start playing soon. They're going to dominate. They're going to take over the match. And we allow them to do that.
Yeah.
There was none of this in their face, get at them. Attitude, determination, desire. We are not. I was expecting after Peter Reid's intervention this week at Binge Farm, my favourite quote from his biography was, and I quote, "Lads, today we do not lose," unquote. And that's the kind of attitude I expected, and that's what we didn't get.
Yeah.
That's just what we did not get, and I can't just put the blame down on the players for being lazy. You have to put it on the management too, by no matter how animated Dyche was on the touchline. It does not allow the fact that the players sank so deep that they just watched Liverpool pass it around. What they did against Arsenal, they tried to repeat, but Arsenal's a completely different question to Liverpool. And to beat Liverpool, it's been shown during the season several times how to do it.
Yeah.
And then we go and do the exact opposite. And that was a very, very disappointing aspect of it for me. That we don't have centre forwards, all that is a bit by the by, I think, because even with the players we have, if we'd have pushed up, got the backs, stopped them playing, stopped them building any confidence, get them to start worrying about us instead, we'd have done it. We could have at least got a point there. And that is annoying.
Yeah, it's like you said. Then it's not just how you play. It's the work rate, isn't it? It's getting in the faces. We never did that at all on Monday, and that's what was so annoying to me. I know we're not as good as Liverpool, but I've watched Everton plenty of times when we didn't have a team as good as Liverpool's. But what we did was got in their face. You listen,
exactly.
In the 90s and stuff, you could just kick shit at them. That was a different era. But now you have to be in their faces like we were against Arsenal. And that wasn't there. And as I said before, to beat a lot of the teams this season, we're going to have to beat them physically before we beat them on the floor. We're probably not going to beat most of them on the floor. We're going to have to beat them physically. We're going to have to stay in games, be a little bit nasty, be a little bit ruthless. I mean, the 2 goals they scored on Monday night, but I mean, why isn't Ghana kicking that the Uruguayan Andy Cowell in the centenary stand. Why isn't he just pushing him? But why isn't he just pushing him into the centenary stand or just whacking him and making sure the game gets stopped? Take a yellow card and get on with it. And the second goal, Seamus Coleman, you're an experienced player, just kick him. I mean, I could think of nothing better in the world than kicking Andy Robinson. And he had his chance and he never took it. And they go and score.
What? I'd imagine that kicking Andy Robinson must be one of the most enjoyable feelings ever.
It must be amazing.
As an Everton,
it'd be lovely, wouldn't it?
I'd do anything to play against him.
I think for the first goal, once the ball rebounded from the post, there was a little bit of pinball in the box. Coleman, he should not have gone for the challenge.
No.
Secondly, because he did and he lost, he should have just stuck his leg out and brought the lad down straight away.
Yeah.
Because he knew what was not, should I say, behind him. Stuck his leg out and brought it, stopped it there and then. Then, of course, Garner, he decided to just cover space on the ball on the possible pass rather than going for a challenge, which you can understand to a certain degree. But when it comes to that point where the guy's going to, he's going to take one more step and then hit the pass, that's when you've got to dive in. That's when you've got to hit him. And you have to take a card for the team.
Yeah.
And that was there and he didn't do it.
No.
Pickford, I was reading the ball. I mean, I'm a former goalie myself, and I was watching the ball come in, and I understood entirely his movement there. I really did understand his movements, going to where he thought that he was going to intercept the pass.
Yeah.
And then Salah turned up in the middle, because that's where your focus is as you're watching as it was known as attacking, and the ball comes across. It happens in the mind automatically. The mathematics of where you can intercept the pass, and he could have intercepted it where Salah got the ball, but that was not part of his thinking at that particular moment, and that's why he was stranded off centre. So I wouldn't put that goal completely on Pickford, because I think Salah would have scored anyway.
It was 3-1, wasn't it? So
yeah, and Salah would have scored anyway, because you had both. Even if Pickford was standing there in the centre of the goal, whether it be on his goal line or on the penalty spot, doesn't matter. He'd have put the ball to either side. So it's not a question from my mind.
Yeah,
it's not a problem. That was a goal.
Yeah,
but it wasn't Pickford. It should have been stopped by first Coleman and then Garner.
Yeah, absolutely.
But these are individual points of the game. We did not create anything otherwise apart from one head against the post. That's all we did. Now, what gets me is that it was spineless, toothless. It was we let them develop, we let them grow, we let them get their confidence. And the first 15, 20 minutes, we could have had them. I thought, we're in this game. But what did we do? We stopped. And there's all Frank Lampard and Silva and Martin's game again. Sit back, get the ball, and then pass 100 times when you don't need to. And people have been criticising us for playing out the back at the end of the game. There's only one reason why Everton started making these passes from Pickford, centre-halves to Garner, and that's because Liverpool said the game's ours. We're sitting back now. You come at us. And there was nothing to do with Everton being any better. It's just because Liverpool decided we don't need to press any high press anymore. Yeah. We don't need to. The game's won. We're not going to leave any openings for them to get us. So that's what happened.
Yeah, same against West Ham, wasn't it?
It's very sad.
Well, hopefully, Bright. Well, they've got a chance now to redeem themselves on Saturday, and if they do, and then we win that, we can go into the Villa game. Things could look completely different. So they've got an immediate chance to bounce back on Saturday, and if they do, then we'll all be on a high again, won't we? So, as I said, I'm not particularly bothered that we lost in the Merseyside derby. I'm more particularly bothered that we just looked like we couldn't be arsed. So,
exactly. And as I'm a little surprised there, but it's always the next game, which we have been criticising the attitude of. Oh, we'll do it next time. We'll do it next time. We're not going to have so many next times.
Yeah, exactly.
And, this is this is history repeating itself. This is exactly the same picture we had last year when Lampard came in. The only difference being we got Riyad Charles.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
that's who we could put the bottom now. And now at the stage we got a new manager. We got a very good result against Arsenal. Surprising, agreed. But the annoying thing for me is that they thought the Liverpool game would be the same as the Arsenal game, and that is what is surprising for me. Our management team cannot see those two teams playing the same way. How do they do that? Why do they use the same tactics in two teams who play completely differently?
Yeah.
You've got a team who are very vulnerable and are not in the best of form, you put it mildly. And it's the recipes there. Other teams have showed us how to beat them. And what do? The exact opposite.
Yeah.
So that, for me, is a very, very big question mark over the management.
Well, it's early days, Bri. He's going to get to learn, isn't he? He needs to get to learn about these players very, very quickly, because, like you've just said, the time isn't there this season. They haven't given him much time. They obviously haven't given him any tools by not bringing many players. He's got less games than Frank Lampard did last season to turn it round, so he's going to have to learn very, very quickly about these players.
Yep.
Cheers, Bri. Good to have you on, mate.
Cheers, mate.
Cheers, mate. See you later. Cheers. Ta-da. There you go. Good call from Bri. Right, no more, Ned?
We've got one more. We've got Rich.
Quick, let's get Rich on then.
Hello. Can you hear him now?
Rich, I can hear you, Rich. Go on, mate.
Yeah. I'm going to try and end on a bit of a positive for you.
Go on.
Just to disagree a little bit with the previous fella, just to say I think there is a difference from last year.
Okay.
Positively, which I do think is Dyche. Actually,
yeah.
I think I've got more confidence in Sean Dyche to look at what happened on Monday and to affect it positively.
Yeah.
Exactly how he'll do that.
Yeah.
I don't know. But whether it's playing two up front, and to be honest, I wouldn't make it Mopai with Sims. If I was playing Sims up front, I would want somebody a bit more physical around him, or with a bit of pace or something. I do think I agree with you, Ped, about Ben Godfrey. Put him on the left of defence, I can't believe he won't make a difference there.
Yeah.
So but whatever he does, I just have some confidence that he will be looking at that situation, and he will be looking at the players, and he will be thinking about how he can up their level of performance on Saturday.
Yeah. Definitely, I think you're right, mate. I think that's that. I think we've got a manager now who will crack the whip, and and this is what's dead interesting about Saturday is, does he look at those two performances and go, well, it's like different sides, two sides of a coin, and we might get a good one this week. Or does he look at the game on Monday and say, right, that team I played against Arsenal really let me down on Monday night, and there's going to have to be changes? And that'll be the really interesting thing, because I imagine that if he makes changes this week, some people mightn't like him for that, and you've got to, I suppose, because it is such a small squad, he's got to make sure he keeps that squad together. But I do think there's plenty of talent on. Well, talent, I use the word talent loosely, but I do think there's people like Ben Godfrey, Yerry Mina, that could add something to this team if they're given an opportunity now and again.
Yeah, no, definitely. And I mean, the biggest conundrum is what we know, isn't it? It's actually being able to put the ball in the back of the net. So if he can find a way, to make us more effective at the top end of the pitch, I think those other changes he could make, would really help. But if he can just find a way for us to be a little bit more productive, to score, to carry a little bit more of a threat.
Yeah.
And as I say, just to have that level of performance throughout the team, I would be optimistic that at home against Leeds, we should be able to do something, should be able to get a result. Definitely.
I mean, this was one of the big wins for Frank Lampard, wasn't it, this time last season as well? So, listen, they're not on a good run. They haven't won, in the Premier League since November the 5th. They've won a couple of FA Cup games and stuff, they've had a couple of decent draws, but November the 5th since the last time they won. So we can't let that happen again. We can't let it be another Wolves or another Southampton. We've got to make sure we get 3 points out of this game on Saturday.
Yeah, definitely. And I mean, certainly, if my belief is that if Dyche had been there for the Southampton game, we wouldn't have lost that game. So, I would be, like I say, optimistic that with him there, we'll we should go out and win this game. So,
hopefully, yeah. Cheers, Rich. Good call, mate. Thanks very much. Cheers, Rich.
I think one thing people are forgetting about Dyche before we go is he had how many years at Burnley to try and get his team scoring goals, and he had them hard works and he had them well drilled. I think that's one thing people said about him coming to Everton. We'll get the players working hard, and these are a squad that's threw many managers under the bus. Having said that, he might come in and get us playing well drilled, working hard, but is he going to get? We had Ashley Barnes and Chris Wood who walk into our team at the moment. They start on Monday, they start on Saturday over Ellis Sims 10 times out of 10, and they couldn't get them scoring enough goals. So for me, is Dyche going to come in and make Sims score 10 goals before the end of the season? Is he going to make Damari Gray score any more than 3 or McNeil? Because last season we had our top goal scorer finished on 10 goals, we finished 16th, and I think we'll be lucky to get a top scorer on 5 this season. Very lucky. So, we might work hard, but I just don't think he's a miracle worker.
No, he's not a miracle worker, but what I would say is, though, forget about Burnley did brilliantly under Dyche. He really did. He really did do unbelievably well. And if he can get a shape that helps create opportunities, then it's up to the people to put the ball in the back of the net. So it's not just one thing, it's 2 things. Everton don't create enough chances. He's got to set us up. Don't forget, against Arsenal, we created loads, but a lot of that was down to Dom being the focal point. He has got to come up with something. And he's got to come up with it quick. And that means every day on the training pitch. Every day going through the slog. And it's going to be tough. And we've had 2 games now to sort of bed it in. 2 games that were almost write-offs, and we've managed to get 3 points out of it. So, huge game. Game.
I'm not saying I don't think he's the best man for the job. I think he's the best man to try and get the best out of the plays, but whether that's necessarily going to be enough, I don't know, because I think you need a miracle worker to get this team scoring 30 odd goals before the end of the season to try and keep us up. But whatever it is, he's got to try and find a way, and try and find a way to do it without Dom as well, because you can't keep relying on Dom to play. No,
you can't rely on Dom. No, it's going to be really, really difficult. But what other option have we got? We had to sack Frank Lampard. There's not a ton of managers out there, and I genuinely think he is the best man to try and, out of all the people out there, he is the best man to try and get it. And if it happens, it happens. And if it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. It's just one of those things, isn't it? We know who's to blame for it. It isn't Sean Dyche. It's the people who make the decisions. So there we go. We'll leave it on that. We've done an hour and a half. Great to have your company. I'm looking at the wrong cameras. It's great to have your company with us tonight. Nice one for Ned for pressing all the buttons and maybe to talk at the same time. Sometimes he struggles with that. So
I struggle to talk sometimes.
There you go. The match preview for the Leeds game is going to be out in about 2 minutes on Toffee TV Premier. If you're not a member, why aren't you a member? Loads of good stuff on there. Tomorrow there'll be a great interview with Phil McNulty, the BBC journalist who's been following Everton and Liverpool and other clubs for years and years and years. That will be on the press box tomorrow, so catch that tomorrow on Toffee TV Premier. The link is in the description, and the QR code will be coming up on the screen in a minute. See you later.